Hi and welcome to Blades of Thunder.
And tonight Kevin's going to be applying the graphics and I'll be fitting the weapons pylons and the rocket pods.
Right then, we're into putting the graphics onto this little scale little bird. One thing that bring to your attention, all of the graphics were done by Glen on his computer using a laser cutter and some special vinyl applying paper. Lots of hints and tips. One is never just do one of them because you only want one. Do 2 or 3. If you damage it putting the decal on, you've got a spare to go back to, as opposed to thinking, oh dear, now what do I do? I've now got to do another one. Secondly, another tip, if you're doing graphics for a scale helicopter and you want it to be as reasonably accurate as possible, loads of pictures of the original one. And if you can, have a reference on a laptop or a computer nearby so you can refer to it as you put in the graphics on, and you can always glance at it to make sure you've got the graphics in the right place. Last thing you want to do, have someone coming up going, this tail boom graphic should be on the tail boom but you've put it on the doghouse or on the side of the helicopter, and then they start picking holes of it, which can upset you. So let's get started and let's apply the first one. Right then, so first one we're going to do is the smallest one that fits on the nose. When it comes to doing graphics, speed is not your friend. Nice and steady, take your time and try and do it the best you can. Obviously everyone does, but it's not a race. You get better results if you sort of take your time. Right, so this little one sits here in between the 2 windows and the 2 light units. So what you have to do is carefully peel the backing off, and then get that out of the way, making sure you get it the right way up and make sure you get it square. Very, very carefully start to peel the carrier plastic. Sometimes if you've got fingernails, it does actually help. You go nice and slow, peel it back gently, nice and slow. If it looks like it's not sticking properly, then slow down and go back and just give it another little gentle push. Bring it back, just right back on itself. Okay, nice and cleanly. And then very, very carefully, you don't want to rub it or scrape it, push it down. And there we are, the first one done. I'd like to say that as straight as I can get it without using a ruler. And now we go on to the next ones. Okay, so now we're going to put the graphics or decals, or whatever you want to call them, onto the side of the scale helicopter. Now, for ease of doing the job, because the last thing you want to do is try and crouch down looking at your helicopter while it's on its landing skids, and you don't want to hang it from the air balancing around. Lay it down on something soft, so it's not going to go anywhere, and it makes it easier to actually see what you're doing, and you can do a better job of it. So the first thing we're going to do is the graphic for the doghouse. Now, I would say it goes, we have a look at the picture to see roughly whereabouts it should go actually on the original drawings, and okay, that is absolutely good. It sits there. So now you've got your reference of where it's supposed to go. It's always handy. As you see, we've taken the blades off so that we can actually work on this, but you can actually use the blade grips and the control rods as a little bit of a reference of where you're going to have to put your sticker. So again, don't rush, pull the backing back. Carefully, making sure you've got it the correct way up. Talking because I'm trying to concentrate. Okay, so there, before you go peeling the backing off, you sort of always have a second glance just to sort of think, have you got it in the right place? Looking at the reference picture, I am happy with that. Okay, so again, pick a corner, start to fold it back. Nice and steadily. Obviously you can use tweezers or that sort of implement, but I find it better to use my fingers. Okay. Again, happy with that. Looks very nice. And we can now move on to the next one. Okay, so now we're on to the graphic that goes on the tail boom. As you see, helicopter's still where it was. Look at the reference to see where it's got to finish and where it's got to start. And I would suggest that, looking at the pictures and the helicopter itself, it should sit quite nicely there. Right bang in the middle. So let's peel this off. Rubbish. Okay. As this is on a curve, work from the centre outwards on each letter. as opposed to trying to just run your finger or whatever you're using all in one go, because you'll end up with a ripple in them and then you'll have to start again. Okay. Now, that looks like that's successful. Again, carefully pull it back. As that little U started to pick up a little bit, just go back for a couple of millimeters. A little bit of a gentle persuasion. Okay, that's better. Very carefully. Okay, and that one is successfully stuck on, nice and straight. And now it's just the final one for this side that goes on the tail. Again, look at the picture just to make sure that we get it in the right place. I would say it's about a third of the way up, so it's the same process. Carefully peel the backing back. And make sure you've got it the right way up. About a third of the way. In the middle, out there. Again, carefully there we go, pull it back and a final little push just to, and there we are, the decals are done on this side. Okay then, as you see, we've applied the decals, so it now actually looks a little bit more scale-like. All nicely applied. They've been on there for a while, so they're stuck on there. Before anyone says, did you do the other side? Yes, we did, but I didn't think you wanted to watch me do all of them. So that's all done. So the next step is to hand over to Glen so he can weaponize it and give it a little bit of a bite. So over to Glen.
Okay, so you've just seen Kevin applying the decals that we made, and now I'm going to show you how to fit the weapons, because they aren't in the manual and it isn't really obvious how to do it. So we'll get rid of that, don't need that. Okay, and I have already fitted one of the rocket pods on the weapons pylon, and one of the things I want to talk to you about is in the pack you get a minigun and a rocket launcher, and the minigun fits onto the weapons pylon like that, and the rocket pod like that, but the rocket pod doesn't go over the end bit, so we've got to make some alterations there. Now, our research has showed us that this earlier version of the Hughes 500 or the MD500 cannot carry either both rocket pods and machine guns. It can carry one or the other. So a typical load for these early models would be 2 rocket pods or 2 machine guns. And the reason for it is its all up weight is only 950 kilograms. Okay, so that includes fuel, weapons, and what people tend to forget with miniguns, the really heavy bit, the ammunition. Okay, so we're not going to fit the miniguns because we prefer the look of rockets, but it's up to you. It's your model, you fit what you want. If you want to fit everything, you fit everything, but we're going to keep to a more realistic weapon load, and we prefer the look of the rocket pods, so we're going to just fit the rocket pods. So turn the model round, and the first thing we're going to do is to take off this rocket pod that I fitted earlier, and then I'll show you how to fit the other one. Okay, so we've taken the rocket pod off of the other side, and we've got the helicopter now down on its side. Now, after looking at lots of photographs and reference drawings, the weapons pylon fits just behind the rear door, round about here somewhere. So the first thing we've got to do is work out how thick the weapons pylon is. So we measure it with a ruler, and that's 14 millimeters. And the other side was done 4 millimeters back from the edge of the door. So we just get our ruler and just mark a point with a pencil. Always use a pencil because you can rub it off with your finger quite easily, and it stands out better even on this black mat. Okay, once you've worked out where the leading edge of the weapons pylon is going to start, the next thing to do is to work out where the board is on the outside of the model, because the weapons pylon screws on directly onto that board. So what I do is I measure a point inside the door, okay, and that's 20 millimeters, and just put a little pencil mark there, and then you can bring that onto the outside of the helicopter and mark the 20 millimeter point there. And then using your ruler, if you look straight down, you can line it up with the baseboard of the helicopter that pokes out the front to give you a line, and just keeping that steady, you can then take your time. Remember, measure twice, cut once. Just mark a line there, which will make it easier to drill through to find the point. Okay, we know the weapons pylon's 14 mil thick, but rather than measuring it, what we can do is just line it up and just put another pencil mark on our line, the thickness of that. Now once it's done, we can take our pin vise with a 1 mil drill in there, and we're just going to drill an exploratory hole. Always use a small drill when you're exploring. Okay, and they can slip a bit, as you just saw, so just take your time, drill the hole slowly. And it's broken through, and it should be on quite close to the board. Okay, the first hole we drill is just a little bit too high, so what we're going to do is drill another hole directly underneath it on the line, and then open the hole up from there. Okay, and that will give us difficult. A better starting point to start working from. Okay, so we're going to change the drill. Just going to put a bigger drill bit in and open that hole up. And if you look through, that should be very close to the baseboard now. Okay, now we've got this hole. It's still a little bit too high, so what we're going to do is use a round file, and we're going to just slowly bring the hole down till it meets the baseboard. So push towards yourself and just in one direction, and then as it opens up, you can, it won't take long because it's fiberglass. Just open that hole up. We're nearly there. Okay, right, now we've found where the bottom is, which weren't too far out. What we're going to do is just along the bottom of this line, between the two pencil marks, we're going to just drill a few holes and then use another file just to open up. Okay, so using our round file, a bit like a saw, I'm just going to open up the gaps between the holes. Okay, and then we're going to change to a half round file, and pushing towards yourself because you don't want to take too much out of the top. And we can start working down. Okay, so we've cut out the hole and filed it out, and the pylon now fits in. It's a bit loose and it needs to be a little bit loose so you can manipulate it, and if we stand it up you can see it fits inside there. We've had to trim a little bit off the end because of the rear mounting bracket, but that's not too much of a problem. And the next stage now is to trim the end, drill a hole in the end and trim it so that we can then fit the rocket pods, because this fairing here is too big. Okay, so taking our 1mm drill bit, we drill a hole through the end into the plastic to about 5mm deep. Okay, and then we take our trusty razor saw and popping it on the table, use your thumb as a guide, about 2.5mm back from that edge, and just gently cut it off. Okay, and then just carefully at the end, because you don't want it to ping. Okay, just clear it up, and then you'll see you can just slide the rocket pod on. That will fit in from the other side, and then we'll fit a screw through, and then the rocket pod then becomes removable. So the next thing is to screw this into position. Okay, so we're going to come in through the window. This is one of the reasons why we don't put the glazing in just yet. And we find the hole and we get it as accurate as we can. We can't come straight down onto it. This is a self-tapping screw, so it'll make its own hole, and holding the end up so that the bottom bit goes in flat, we just screw it down into position. Like so. Okay, and the checkmate looks pretty square from the top. Okay, so now we just fit the rocket pod onto the pylon. We're going to just get the screw started through the hole, because that'll just make it easier to get on to the end. It'll help us line it up a bit. Okay, so we just offer it on, hold it in position and start screwing in till it's nice and tight, but don't over tighten. Okay, well there we go, we have our finished Little Bird. We've taken this model from unboxing to fit in the mechanics. Had to make a couple of modifications and we showed you how to do that so that we could fit some T-Rex 450 Pro mechanics into this instead of the very old Sport version. Okay, we've shown you how to fit the weapons pylons as that's not in the instructions, and this model is ready to go flying. The only bit that wasn't in the box that we've done is we've made our own decals just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And this model's ready to go. Next time we're out at the field on a calm day, we're going to take it out, fly it, see how it flies with the rocket pods on, and we'll keep you posted on that. Now the model's done, you can take this further if you wish. Okay, you can add more details, aerials, lights, beanie cap to sit on the top. It's up to you. You can make it your own. You can even rub it down and paint it another colour. Do what you like. We may have a few plans for this model to turn it into something completely different, but you'll have to wait and see. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.